And there we go. We are live. Welcome, everyone, to the OSR Tabletop with myself, GM Bloodworth, and I still have music going. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. There, I had to do it on that as well. Welcome, everyone, to the OSR Tabletop. I am joined today by Todd, DM Blackwall from Blackwall Games, and you're the primary creator for Horde Wars, or you have a group that you work with?
So I have a co-author. So it's myself and Nathan Lindy. He is a physics professor, and I do office administration.
Awesome. And so, what and when did you come into the tabletop role playing hobby? So, what game and when?
Oh, sure. I started with AD&D, and this would have been between 25 and 27 years ago, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So second edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was pretty fun. I've played a number of RPGs since then. I also owned a rules cyclopedia for many years. I actually picked that up, and we wound up giving it away as a prize for people who purchased Horde Wars in a particular sale we were doing.
Oh, cool.
And so there's I want to say it was Sir Heronius or something. This is online handle. He actually got that book now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and so you say you played a number of different game systems and everything. Different genres as well, or you've always been just like kind of keyed in on fantasy or?
Oh, different genres.
Yeah.
Sci-fi, superhero, a bit of horror as well. I like fantasy and sci-fi probably the most.
Right.
And you can tell because we have a fantasy book out now, and we are working on a sci-fi one that should be released in May, June of next year.
Cool. So what is the basic premise of Horde Wars? Actually, before I go into that, I just want to make an announcement to everyone. So Todd here is the first time that I've had a creative on the channel that isn't currently running a Kickstarter, although he does have a store, and I'm going to show that off to you. But this is the first time I have somebody coming on the channel where I haven't purchased their product yet. So this is kind of like, sell me on this, kind of a thing. And he's not the first person I've done this with necessarily, but he's the first person to be on my channel. So I do give him a lot of credit for coming in here and doing a sales pitch, because I think that for my viewers, they might not have heard of the game system before, and but as for me, I've heard nothing but positive about Horde Wars, so that's what really attracted to me. And then you were in my live stream like last week, and you were like, hey. Or even the week before when I was talking to Chubby Funster.
Yeah.
And you brought up, and a lot of the people in the chat knew who you were too. So once my members and my subscribers are telling me, hey, that's the real deal, I'm practically sold on it, to begin with. So you don't have a hard sell. All right. But one other thing I wanted to ask, so what is the premise or the theme of Horde Wars?
Sure. So Horde Wars is a D12 RPG. This was done for a few reasons, but and it's focused on a medieval fantasy, but in really dark ages, a dark ages fantastical type of Europe, rather than high medieval. The technology is high medieval, but like the society, the danger of simply going on the road, like you could die. Leaving town is dangerous. Going off into the wilderness for days or weeks at a time is very risky. and we wanted to make a game that will let you fight large numbers of opponents and be risking death, and that is a tricky thing to balance.
Yeah.
Um, and so our very first playtest, one of the guys who was in that playtest, I think, is in the chat,
Mhm.
Flashbang without some of the vowels. But our very first playtest was something like 30 or 40 goblins against a party of 5 characters in a single fight, just to see if it would work. Like, is
Wow.
this game system going to work?
Mhm.
And they were done with the battle in like an hour, which is great. And they didn't all die.
That's about 1/5 the time of a 5e battle.
Yeah, and we were able to increase tactical depth
Mhm.
certainly compared to 5e.
Right.
Um, and and this took some work. Like I said, my co-author is really into physics and math,
Mhm.
and that helped. But we also spent several years in playtesting with a total of over 100 playtesters, and
Wow.
that really helped refine the game. Our original draft was significantly worse than what we wound up producing.
That's why it's called a draft. It's
Yeah,
supposed to start. And an
yeah,
original draft is even more, or initial draft is even more so. So, but that's a lot of play testers. That sounds like you really did put in the time and the effort, to get something that's ready to launch. Because you know, um, a lot of times that's not done to that full extent,
yeah,
and so that says a lot. And again, like I said, there's been tons of people telling me this is a great system.
yeah.
Now, getting back to, so it's a medieval fantasy, although not a high fantasy. All
Correct.
right. So, would you say that it's kind of like a historical fiction? Like, is there a lot of
There are definite historical references, but it's
right,
its own setting. We
right,
have a starting continent. You saw the map for it for free on our website,
mhm,
with eight countries. And in the book, in advanced anyway, in Horde Wars Advanced, you'll get a 2-page spread about each country.
okay,
Uh, that will include a couple of their laws, how their government's organized, trade, specialized military units, and it will also include 3 adventure locations and several NPCs.
oh, cool,
Um, and this is so that you kind of get a sense of what is this country like, while
hmm,
leaving you lots of room to add your own content, because I certainly enjoy that as a game master. I don't want to have to reference a tome that is meant to encompass everything in the world. That's kind of boring. Um, I would rather be able to add my own content very easily, but at the same time, I want to be able to grab a book and play immediately. And so we've designed that so that there is a chapter with a starting area, a sample adventure, a sample town, and a bunch of adventure locations around that town. And then
hmm,
we have a separate chapter with the setting in general and the 8 nations of the setting being presented. So you wind up with something like 43 adventure locations to play in just in the book.
all right, cool, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's something that will I think will be very good for the new game master and the new player coming to it, because it's all contained in one book, correct? So everything is in
Yes.
one volume, and that's a huge plus as well.
Well, that
Um, Go ahead.
that was part of our inspiration. I mentioned the Rules Cyclopedia for a reason.
Right,
We Nate and I took inspiration from that. We wanted to make games that are presented the same way, that
right.
with, admittedly, I think a little bit better layout, like more legible.
Yeah,
Rules Cyclopedia was a little rough.
those page
Uh,
numbers, page
yeah.
numbers buried inside like this, very, very intricate vine thing. It's like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
You couldn't even find them sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So really, really, really cool book though, because it gave you everything you needed to
Mhm.
play the game in one volume, and we wanted to do that on purpose. So
Right.
we designed our book that way. As a business model, it's really, long term. We either want
Mhm.
people who buy it to play with their friends, and then hopefully their friends will buy it and play with their friends, and so
Right.
on. But also, we do plan to sell other games and additional game master content. But everything the player needs is in that book. Everything the game master needs to run the game is in that book. It's, do you want a supplement? Not,
Right.
you need this because it has this special career or this unique item that you just have to have. No, it's we want you to have everything you need to play the game in one.
Yeah, that's a very good selling point. Some of my favorite OSR games out there are all contained in one, one volume. So you don't need anything else. But there are plenty of expansions, which I'm sure you'll probably also do as well. But to have that one core book, it's a great way to bring new people in, and that's pretty impressive. Now, we were talking a little bit about the difference between the soft cover and the hard cover, and I admittedly said, like, I normally don't go with hardcover, because I have limited shelf space. But you sold me on the hardcover just by it lays nice and flat, which is perfect. So, but yeah, why don't we show them off the store now? So, if you want to share that, or I can share it, or
you go ahead.
Try to share it, because that will. Oh wait, that's the wrong button. So let me go to this and share. All right, so everyone should be able to see this. And I think it'll be larger on mine and for them to see than you're seeing. But let me know if it needs to be enlarged at all.
Well, if you just want to scroll around so they can see
Yeah.
the rest of it, maybe. Yeah.
So here we have Blackwall Games, their website. I found this more useful than just the drive-through. And Todd told me that this has a lot of the in-game art, correct? So
Yeah.
the website itself has some of the art that you will see. And you can see here the PDF for the advanced is $20. And it includes all of the materials that you'll have in the basic as well. So, unless if you're a collector like myself, generally speaking, you might want to get both just to have both. But you don't need to, and that's an important thing. So here's the hardcover advanced, softcover advanced, and then the hardcover advanced. So you have a nice choices to go with when you're going into this. So that's really good. Here's the Horde Wars Valentia. Is it Valentia or Valencia?
Either one's fine.
Either one's fine. Map and free map. Let's blow this thing up a little bit. Let's see if we can see. So here we go. It doesn't. It's not as much as if I opened it all the way, but you can see it's a nice looking map, and it's not a hex map, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's a map that you're actually free to, I guess free to alter. It has a key like a square, like a mile indicator per inch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming. I can't see that.
It's actually, if you wanna know the scale, all you have to do is go read anywhere in our book. It'll tell you.
Okay.
The scale. But the short version is we wanted you to have some wiggle room with scaling,
Right.
Because it may very well be that you have some cool idea that you want to throw in there, and if we map everything down to the mile, you won't be able to.
Okay.
And for me, I much prefer. I much prefer knowing the distances between places rather than everything on the map, especially in a world where
That's
it's not fully explored,
Mhm.
where many of the people don't actually know what's 30 miles into the woods,
Right.
because if they went out there, they might die.
All right, we're going to take a look at the. Oh, go
Are you
ahead.
able to
Sorry.
remove Brian's comment? It's kind of burying me.
Oh, let me find it. And I'm sorry. Let's see. And you're right. Forgot to do that. Sorry about that. I will get to your comments in very, very briefly. So let's see. So character sheet. Let's see what we can figure out from the. Oh, we can't do that.
You'd have to.
I should have done these ahead of time then.
But it's a pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
sheet. I can actually show it to you. It's in the back of the book as well.
Yeah. So yeah, let me stop sharing so you can share that direct sheet, and
Sure.
we'll go
Let
along
me
that
just
line.
go
In the
over
meantime,
here.
yeah, I think I just have to approve it when it queues in.
Yep. So
Yeah.
what you'd be downloading is in the last
There we
2
go.
pages of the book, because we include 7 sample characters, and
And
then after that we have a blank character sheet for you.
cool.
And these are little bubbles to fill in. It takes 12 experience to level up in our game. We figured we might as well lean into the D12.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
Also, if you're needing increments of thousands or tens of thousands of XP, it might as well be 1 to 10.
Mhm.
Not You don't need the thousand number.
Right, right.
um, and so this is the first sheet,
Mhm.
and then on the back you list your passive abilities, any special actions, special maneuvers you might have, your gear, age and sex, your perks,
Works.
and any
Your
money you might
currency.
have.
Very, very cool.
So it's pretty simple to read. Anyone
Yeah.
who's used to D&D, Pathfinder, any of that sort of
Right.
thing, you should be able to follow the
Well, it
sheet
has
pretty.
different attributes, right? So you just have fitness, reflexes, senses, and willpower.
It does, and there's no modifier. The number is the modifier. So you're
I see.
typically going to have something like a 0 to 6.
I see. And
Um,
then it's skill based, right? So
yep,
you have various skills that are
yep.
involved, and yeah,
And
are
they're
there?
not iterative, by which I mean the attributes are not combined with the skills.
Okay,
Attributes are used primarily in defense. So like
I see.
rolling for turn order, saving against a poison, resisting mind control, avoiding being blinded, this sort
I
of thing.
see.
Whereas the skills are your efforts to interact with the world. Are
Very,
you
very cool.
attacking someone, you convincing someone to do something, you appraising an art object, whatever it might be.
Right. Um, Thus, no intelligence, no charisma, no any of those because they're just part of what you're attempting to do,
Yeah.
and that's where your skills come in. All right. That's well, that's unique. I haven't seen that before. To be honest with you, where they didn't have a direct correlation between the attributes and the skills.
hmm
All right.
Well, partly because you could be, for example, really good at resisting disease
Mhm.
and also not particularly athletic.
Yeah, 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 and the other systems tend to kind of block you in to
Yeah.
certain dynamics of the game mechanics. So now that we've just made a nice little segue with
Yeah.
the talk of game mechanics, so it uses the D12, all
Yeah.
right, and so is that is that something that's going to go um, with the hit matrix? Is there a
Oh,
target
sure.
number
You're
that's
going for target number and equal or over.
an equal or over? Yeah, and then so you're rolling a d12 to hit, and
Yep.
and what's the average necessary to hit a target?
Sure. So you're rolling a d12 for say an attack, and you're adding your combat bonus and maybe a
Okay.
circumstance bonus. Say if you were flanking the target or something,
Right.
or ambush them. But you'd add that to the d12, and then you're trying to hit typically a 6 to 10, possibly as high as a 14.
Wow. All right.
And so, but you're normally adding somewhere between 2 and 6 to your
Right. To your roll.
die roll.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's possible to get higher if you get the right gear.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
Let me mute my phone a second. I didn't
Yeah. Yeah.
realize
No.
that
No
was still
problem.
on.
So and then once I pick this up after I come back from vacation and everything, I will go through all of these character creation and
Oh, sure.
so character species. Actually, let's talk a little bit about the species. So
Absolutely. Before we do though, I did want to point out. Notice the core rules
Mhm.
is 10 or 11 pages.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. That's
that's
all
it.
you
Yeah,
need to know to play.
yeah. Well, that's very good too. Especially if they're formatted out well and very quick to to pick up, and and whatnot. So these are the core species, correct? So
Yeah.
obviously you're going to start with humans.
Yep. Yep. We've got humans. We've got dwarves. We've got elves. We've got halflings. And we've got orcs.
Okay.
Part of the reason for this is orcs in our setting are basically a Viking analog. They raid up and down the coast in longships looking for silver and slaves.
Wow.
And so we wanted to really differentiate them from goblins because in a lot of games, orcs are basically big goblins.
Yeah.
And so in this case, our orcs are capable of like honoring a treaty or something, but they tend to be antagonists.
Right.
Whereas goblins are irredeemably evil, so hilariously evil. I mean, they're like cannibals and stuff, and they'll eat
Mhm.
people as well, but so hilariously evil that they actually struggle to resist the lure of treasure. So if you throw treasure past them, there's like a 75% chance the goblin will go chasing the treasure rather than doing whatever would be a good idea. Um, and so we really wanted to give a good, sharp distinction between the two. Um, and
Very
that
cool.
seems to work
So, but
really well.
there are goblins in the game, so
Oh
we'll
yeah.
see that that they could are they the real antagonists in it? Are they
So
the
so we have many antagonists. Now,
okay?
we have a full monster manual. When I say we designed this to be in a single volume, I mean we
Mhm.
really designed it that way so that you get in real measurable ways, other than page count, equal or more content to a trio of books from Wizards of the Coast or
Right.
Paizo. So, for example, we have over 200 beast monsters and NPC stat blocks for
Wow.
you to fight and interact with, and we can look at a few of them in a moment. But we also
Right.
have 21 careers for you to play, and you don't just pick one; you actually pick two when you make your character, because that's the thing that sets your hero apart. You can play on hard mode and just pick one career, but
Right.
normally you have two careers because that's the only real advantage that your character has in the game world.
Oh, that's
Um,
very cool.
and you get
Right.
the starting abilities of both. This lets you, for example, make a dedicated wizard by combining two kinds of wizard, a dedicated knight, for example, by
Hmm.
combining, say, a knight with perhaps a mercenary or a huntsman, or maybe with a or maybe combining it with a crusader.
Right.
Um, but it also lets you make something somewhat exotic. Like, let's pretend you wanted to make a an arcane archer. Well, we don't have that career, but what we do have is an archer, and we have five varieties of wizard, each of which
Right.
has an A and a B theme. And you could
Hmm.
go, I want to combine red wizard with archer,
Yeah.
and choose the ability for the feature for the red wizard, so that I can actually do fire damage with my arrows,
Right.
channeling my magic through the
That's
attack.
really cool.
And then you've still got haste and fireball that you can cast,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And so you can make lots of very different characters. So there's over 190 unique combinations of characters, even ignoring the species, just off the careers.
Right.
Adding in the species and the various features, and you're in the thousands to tens of thousands of different options.
Oh, that's very cool. And very interesting. Yeah, again, a lot of variety, and that um, that certainly helps draw more people into it because then they'll be like, hey, you know what, I want to try things out, try different things, and then once I find something that I'm really comfortable with, and then roll with that. Um, or some others might just say, nope, this is exactly what I want, and and go with that as well. So yeah, I really do like the artwork. The artwork um, is actually nice and clear. Like I like the clean, but you have the art right next to, and probably not in every single case, correct, but you still have a good number.
Yeah,
Um,
we have about 110 pieces of artwork in the book,
yeah,
most of which are in the monster section and beast
yeah,
section, because those are things that we felt you'd want to be
right,
able to see. We could have spent thousands more and put artwork in
right,
each of the careers, but mostly those are real world references. Like a knight is a real world thing.
Yeah.
I don't need to show you what a knight
Yeah, and
is.
what a knight looks like. Yeah.
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 Although we actually do have a piece of knight artwork in another spot because he's by like the horse equipment and like horse armor stuff. But in general, we tried to lean into stuff you might want to know what it is. Like this Eardo cat is a
Yes.
beast, but is not
Hmm.
real. That doesn't exist in real life. So we have to
Right.
show you what is it like.
Yeah. Very cool. Um, Let me get to some of the comments and everything. So, if you don't mind, we'll stop sharing and let me get to some of the comments because I do see some new people here. So, Brian, welcome to the channel. And I'm guessing he's coming more from your side and, because I've never seen the name. So, welcome, Brian. Great to have you here. And I notice you're saying first time catching this channel, and you certainly dive straight into the questions, don't you? Yes, I try to. I try to get right into it. And again, my purpose for this live stream is actually very different than I've ever done before. My first time meeting Todd, not at all, experienced with with Horde Wars, except for its reputation. And so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring him on, and I just want to, see what he has to say about his game, and do a nice elevator pitch basically for it. And even though I was certainly leaning towards buying it anyway, it was just like, oh, let's play it out this way and see how this kind of works out. So I'm glad that he chose to come on. Knowing that I didn't have the game yet, and I'm glad to have him on for that purpose as well. So let's see, Q Spur of the Moment live play. A game seems to be best marketing for Horde Wars. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Once I have it, maybe I'll. I don't know about doing. I'm not crazy about doing live plays on, on the channel. I don't do them, for the most part. I haven't in years and everything, because I'm not going to be able to pull off a critical role kind of pre or even a semi half-assed role, pulling it off, to be like that.
What I mean, though, by he's correct, isn't that we should do a live play right now. It is simply that we have something like a 70 to 90% sales rate for people who try the game.
Oh, really? All right. So that's what he means by all right. Yeah, that's a thing. And again, I've been saying this on my channel now for a little over a year. When you're running game systems at conventions, which I do quite a bit of, and I've always run game systems that are not the run of the mill. I'm not running 5e. I'm not running Pathfinder. I've not run D&D of any kind, to be honest with you. When I go to conventions, I'm running things that are, just not something that people have either seen yet, or they haven't seen in ages, and they're like, wow, I remember that game. Like, I ran Bushido, right? So Fantasy Grounds Unlimited Bushido, in one of my first live conventions, once we got out of COVID and we go back to doing conventions, and people were just stunned. They were like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this game in 30 years or more, and I can't believe you're actually running it. And I did the same thing with like Gangbusters or Blade Runner when Blade Runner first came out. And that was, so when people are at conventions and they see something new, or at least something that they haven't seen in a long, long time, it attracts them. It attracts them to look at it and say, hey, what's going on here? And I'm sure that laying out the various items that are, specific for Horde Wars, people are like, hey, what's that game system? And then you as the game master, you're basically pitching not just what you're doing at your own table, but you're pitching the game. You're representing that game, and that's something I think is really important for us to do. So yeah, great comment there as well. And Agile Monk, welcome, and Fox Off as well. Always good to see you guys here. I'm struggling, but thankful nonetheless. I don't know where that comment is coming from, and very much looking forward to this interview. Well, you're welcome, as always, Agile. You're always welcome, and I'm glad that you're looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it as well. Looks great, but also looking forward to Dropship. All right. I get Dropship like the video game. Is that's
no? That's the next game we're working on.
Oh, really? All right, you see. Well, that's cool. Is that because there is a video game Dropship, and that's any like connection to that at all, or inspiration from it?
Never even heard of it.
Oh, cool. No.
It's this is basically your human soldiers being dropped off on alien worlds to fight aliens, and also it'll include a full space combat system.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, now I know. Horde Wars has a ship ship supplement, correct? An airship supplement. Right?
It does because the sailing rules and like domain play rules, like ruling your own kingdom, that stuff is in advanced, and then we had we worked on a bunch of material that didn't make it in the book, some of which we didn't release for a reason because it was a bad idea. Other stuff like the airships worked fine, and we were like, well, we'll just give it as a free supplement. And there may be some others coming as well. We are also working on a dungeon. But before we finalize any work on that, we're going to wait till we have the artwork in hand for it, because we actually want. So our cover artist for the first 2 books, we've talked to him about doing the cover art for the dungeon,
right? And
then also doing the maps. And we actually want him to make the maps, and then we're going to write the dungeon to match the maps, not the reverse.
Right. Well, that should be cool, because then it's a surprise for you too, right? It's like, oh wow, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to make this, something unique and really interesting for, the people to go through. So yeah, that's a really cool approach to doing it. Let's see what else. So let's see. I'm excited most for what comes after Dropship. Did some playtest games of it and really want more of that. All right, so
yeah. So we're also working on a superhero game that's got the most legal hurdles. So we're not rushing that one's development.
Okay.
It's also very expensive. Legal hurdles aside, that will certainly be our most expensive project to date when we do get onto that. Largely because of artwork, and then also book length for that one.
Yeah. So, and he mentions that he would like a dedicated lore book to get some more mysteries of the world.
There is an author who may release that. We've been talking with an author about basically doing a group of short stories set in the Horde Wars campaign setting, and it sounds like that'll happen, but we'll know for sure early next year.
Cool. Let me just get to Off Grid really quick, since he can't stay too long. Hey, Off Grid, how's it going? Off Grid is one of my players in several of my games now, and so he is running his 1E game. He's starting shortly, so good luck with that 1E game. 1E's a lot of fun to play. It's still my favorite edition of D&D. Probably followed by like Beckme as my second favorite, which is basically rules cyclopedia as well. I mean, it's but yeah, good luck with that, and it's good to see you. And I will be back from vacation in time for not this Tuesday, the following Tuesday, for our Castles and Crusades game. I have 3 games that 2 games that I'm definitely running, and a third game I'm looking to shift over and start running Shadow Rim. So I'm shifting my Shadow Dark campaign from the the Cursed Scrolls ones to Shadow Rim. To incorporate that. Yeah. And then I have my Castles and Crusades and my AT&T First Edition. But I'm looking to do more going forward too. Maybe Horde Wars will find its way into my rotation in 2026. I'm kind of booked for 2025, but it may find its way into my rotation in 2026.
Oh, that'd be great. We are. I will say one thing I wanted to point out with the system. It is designed to play fast. We made a
Yeah.
number of rules changes compared to D&D, all of which essentially are designed to help the game play quicker or to add tactical depth or both.
Mm.
Um, let's see here.
Yeah, so here he's Fox Off is saying the way you guys have done the setting stuff is perfect. You get to understand the basics of each culture, how they are as people, and the government's rulers, and it's a lot of flavor for them. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. How many pages is the advanced
300.
300? Which is actually a good size without being over, like overly cumbersome. It's not like 500-page book, and it's not like under 200. So it's probably a really good balance. And like you said, the core rules are what, 12 pages,
Yeah.
and then so how much is monsters? That's like 200.
No,
Oh,
that's about 100 pages because we have
that's
about.
about 100 pages. So
we got about
what's the bulk of it then? Is that just
I did have that up, so if you want, I can quick glance. So
yeah, you can bring that up.
if we just jump to the table of contents, and then
I think you just have to share it again.
there.
There we go.
So I think you have to zoom in. For the
Yeah, and I maximized.
So game rules is 13 pages counting traps, which you don't need the traps to understand core rules. They're just there. Character creations, 2 pages, 3 pages.
Mhm.
Character species, you guys saw, it's about 5. Careers, you got about 21 pages there. Skills, you're dealing with, let's see here, 6-8 pages. Features, you've got another 5 pages or so. Equipment, you got about 14 pages.
Mhm.
Kingdoms and warfare, you've got probably, looks like about 7 to 9 pages. Nautical adventures, you've got another several pages. Game master sections, pretty short, it's about 5 pages. Beasts, I don't know, I'm not going to do that math offhand, but
it's
30.
It's 30. It's blah. I can't do my math I like that either.
It's about 36 pages of beasts.
Yeah, about 36. Yes, it's 36.
About 60 pages of monsters, and then another, call it 30 pages of NPCs.
Okay.
Treasure is a good 20, 25. Actually, no, I forgot. General artifacts keeps going.
And then your sample
Treasure's
adventures.
30 pages. And then you've got your sample adventure and village and such. So that's page 246 to 260 to 259. Setting is 260 to 278, and then sample characters is in the back. So it's it's got a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it seems to be very well balanced, page count wise, to be something that is right there in the sweet spot. So not too bulky, and not too sparse. It has enough coverage to do all those things. So let's see what else. Let's see. 30 miles in the woods is very dangerous. Most European cultures, used to say no farther than the church bell is about as far as you would go outside of your own town, before you turn back and come back. Because if you can't hear the church bell from your own town, you've gone too far,
Yeah, so in that regard, it's very much a points of light situation where in order to even just rest and recover hit points naturally, you need to go to a safe town or castle or keep, rather than, just out in the woods.
Right.
Hey, Bacon, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. And let's see. Death Angels, hey, how's it going? Good to see you as well.
Yeah, I got to talk with Better with Bacon a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I know you've certainly been making your rounds because after we had that conversation, I was like, oh wow, he's doing a whole bunch of shows too. So you're really getting out there, and it's great to see. And I encourage every now. I never watch anybody else's interviews
Mhm.
before I interview somebody because I don't want to. I want to be kind of like fresh and just in my own mind and everything. So now I can go back and take a look at some of those channels that you have been on
Yeah.
to see what they were talking about. But most of us, like I know the channels that you've been on, like most of us have met each other in person, so it's like
Mhm.
and this is starting to become, kind of a network of just, OSR and independent and a network of people. We go to the same conventions, in a general, area. I mean, I don't know what state you're in. Um,
Michigan.
you're in Michigan, so there's some cons there in Michigan, right? There's Wizard Con, which I would recommend you check out since it's right there in Kalamazoo, I believe.
Wizard
Um,
Con. Okay.
yeah, Wizard Con is one that you know is coming up in. It's actually coming up next year, so 2026. I think they already had theirs this year, but yeah, definitely check out WizardCon. That's done by Wizard Tower Games. All right, so
Oh,
that's
cool.
on some more Wizard Tower Games, and definitely check that out. Since you're in the same state, yeah, definitely look to him, and he's usually on like Eric Tenkar's channel, and he has his own channel as well, and yeah, definitely reach out,
Mm.
and that would be a great con for you, to go to. I would like to. I would like to go. It's about a 15-hour drive for me.
Where are you?
I'm in New York. I'm in like central New York. So just I don't know how familiar you are with New York, but I'm in the Mid Hudson Valley of New
Oh,
York.
sure. Now it's not super close, but it's certainly closer than Michigan. We
Yeah.
do plan to be out at the end of August at in Washington D.C. at Nova Open, the weekend leading into Labor Day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's primarily a wargaming convention, but
Hmm.
they uh, basically wanted to expand out into RPGs. So we have a ton of tickets available. So anyone who wants to come out and play with us, just sign up for the convention and show up Labor Day weekend and get into the get tickets for the games. Would love to game with you. Nate and I
Right.
plan to be there. I think we have 9 games on the schedule.
Wow. Yeah, and I'll share with you some like cons. Like I said, Michigan, you're about 15 hours from, maybe less, but darn close to that from like most of the cons that I go to. Like I don't know how far you are from like Utica, but that's Central New York RPG Con. That was a great convention done just this year, last month. For the first time, and it was really really good. Um, and Greg Gillespie was there, and
Yeah.
most of the guys I think that you were on their channels, they were there too. So that should be a good one for you. And again, I don't know how far that is for you, but
If you can send me a few to check out,
yeah,
like an email or a message,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I would be interested in that. I'll have trouble retaining it right now.
yeah. No, I'll link them all into your on your X account because you said you prefer
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll definitely send those over to you. And show you all the ones that I go to basically.
Mhm.
And then, if you can get to them, that would be awesome. All right. So let's see. So let's talk. Let's go back now. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. All
Yeah.
right. So this kind of unscripted, unchained kind of thing too. So the D12. I know you mentioned that you're using the D12 as a mechanic. Was there anything that the D12 does for your game system that you weren't going to get from a D20
Yeah.
or D6s or anything like that?
Yeah, we originally were going to write a supplement for D&D and wound up writing our own game system
Hmm.
and designing our own game system instead because D&D couldn't do it the way it's designed. Some editions are better than others for what
Yeah.
we wanted to achieve, but D&D doesn't usually play quickly, and when it does, it doesn't tend to have a lot of tactical depth.
Mhm.
And we wanted, both of those things, and the ability to fight large amounts of opponents and not have it like take forever,
Yeah.
and still have it be interesting and challenging. And so, what the D12 specifically does is two things. One, it nearly doubles the odds of getting a critical hit. If a natural 12 is a critical hit, like a natural 20, your odds are almost double.
Right.
And we found out that that is just enough that players will plan as though they're going to crit.
Mhm.
And so now, obviously, the odds aren't in favor of it, but 1 in 12 is just enough that the gamblers will go, it might happen. And so we designed weapons that either create that are either beneficial in certain circumstances or have critical hit triggers. So, like, if you get a crit and damage an opponent with it, you might stun them,
Right.
or you might knock them prone,
Yeah.
or you might punch through their armor, or various other things.
Mhm.
And so, the players will actually, with a D12, naturally like tactically plan around critting. D20 they won't.
Right.
The odds are low enough that normal humans just won't. They won't assume that it's going to happen.
Right.
The other thing, though, that it did is it let us embed penalties in the dice. And what I mean is when your character, say, gets what D&D would call level drain, say,
Mhm.
or a curse, or are just starving and exhausted,
Right.
rather than doing D20 minus number or D20 roll it twice, take the lower one, as
Right.
weapons
Right.
tend to be. Instead, we just shrink your dice size. So if you're afflicted, if you are starving, say, you'd be rolling a D10 instead of a D12.
12.
So you could still succeed, but you can't crit anymore. You
Right.
can't roll a natural 12. And if you
Okay.
get
Okay.
more afflicted, you go down to a D8,
Right.
D6, D4. And if you go below a D4, you're either comatose or dead, depending on what
Yeah.
class. And that plays a lot faster at the table than penalties will. And it really, players will deliberately work to fix
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Players will deliberately work to fix that condition. They will go out of their way to avoid being afflicted.
Yeah.
Um, which is good. We want it to feel unpleasant if your character is starving to death, or
Mm.
is dehydrated, or has been cursed.
Right.
Yeah. So those are things that the D12 did and allowed us to do that we couldn't do with a D20. D20 doesn't jump smoothly down to a D12.
Yeah.
There aren't other dice that are close enough that it would work in the same way. And then the excitement thing, it really does matter. And we do
Right.
have swords as well, and swords, their cool thing is they crit on an 11 or a 12. And
Okay.
so you've got a very good chance of critting with a sword, actually. The
Yeah.
other thing is we have fighting styles in the game that give you, if you are fighting with a weapon that you have the fighting style for, say swords or axes,
Hmm.
you get 2 attacks, not 1, if you have that
Right.
weapon fighting style. And so any character could get this. A wizard could have staves, say, as a fighting style,
Right.
and get 2 attacks off. Should a wizard do that? No, he probably should cast a spell. But it's an option.
Right. Yeah.
uh, and this means that the game kind of moves along a bit, but also that you have less dead turns if you like a turn where nothing happens.
Right.
Because
Right.
if you have a single attack and you don't succeed, essentially nothing happened on your turn.
Yeah.
2 attacks, the odds of that are lower, but also the odds of critting are twice as high because you had
Mhm.
2 tries.
Right.
Um, and so that seems to work pretty well. Another thing, we did a number of things to speed up gameplay. A few are just to kind of run down a few. One is turn order. We we independently developed the exact same thing, other than it uses a D12, that Kelsey did with Shadow Dark
Right.
for turn order, which is in our case roll a D12, add your reflexes bonus. The game master does the same, adding the best among the monsters, and then high roll goes first, go around the table from there. This saves about half an hour per game session.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, pole arms can be good too. You just
Yeah.
have to have the fighting style.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But yeah, I mean, I run Shadow Dark, and it really does, especially if you're going to just use it through the entire session, unless something dramatic changes, just the impact of that, character dies or something like that, then we can start off with a new initiative.
We
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a huge uh, time saver
yeah.
to eliminate initiative having to be rolled every single level, every single round.
Now, yeah, and we do have you roll it each encounter, but
Right.
again,
Yeah.
very obvious when you're next. So even the inattentive player, when the guy next to him starts doing stuff, he'll be like, "Oh, I should
Yeah.
start."
I'm up next. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that works really well. And
Yes.
then so that's a thing. Another thing is basically all of our damaging spells are attack rolls.
Mhm.
So a fireball in our game is an attack roll where the wizard is adding his magic skill to his d12 roll and comparing it to the defense of the guys in the area.
Mhm.
Partly because armor really would protect you from most blasting spells a little bit, and partly because this is faster to resolve than if you have everyone in the area of the spell roll a saving throw. If you have a single attack against hard numbers, it plays about 2 to 5 minutes faster per casting. We tried different versions in playtesting, and we learned that this ran quicker, but it also runs quicker because the caster can crit, and so he can get a double damage fireball
Right. Yeah.
or lightning bolt or various
Yeah.
other spells.
Yeah. So on that topic, so with magic is it Advancian, level based, and you get a number per day, or is it like Shadow Dark, where if you succeed, you can cast it again. If you fail, you're done for the day with that particular spell. Or
Neither.
neither. Someplace in between. Yeah.
So I think so. We have typically each caster. Not there's a couple partial casters, like a Scald gets some higher level
Right.
abilities where they have supernatural stuff, but the mainline casters, the priest, the acolyte, the various wizards, they'll tend to start with a cantrip of some kind. We don't actually use that word in the game, but what I
Right.
mean is a spell they can keep using
Yeah.
that typically does like a minor attack, and that's reasonably good. And then they usually also have a spell that they can use once a day, a tier, and what that means is over time they'll actually naturally gain uses of that spell.
Hmm.
And then they usually have a spell that they can use once a day. Now that's each career gives them this. So say you were a blue wizard, red wizard, you'd have a couple of cantrips, a
Right.
lightning bolt, a fireball, a fly spell, and a haste spell
Hmm.
as your starting spell list. And you can use a feature or gain magic items that give you access to more spells.
Right.
And by making all of our wizards, where we have 5 kinds of wizards, each with an A and a B theme,
Hmm.
we let you create a pretty wide variety of casters, and you create it very quickly. One frustrating thing that I always had happen when making new characters for, say, 5th edition D&D or 3rd edition D&D, not as much 2nd edition that I saw, but it probably happens there too, is everyone's ready except the wizard
Yeah.
to play, because
Yeah.
the wizard is still screwing around with the spell list, and so often for an extended period, and so we wanted to make you able to generate a custom spell list very quickly, and this works for that, and then as you gain levels, you can get access to more and more powerful magic by choosing to level up in one of your wizard careers. So each career in our game offers 2 capstones, and then your species offers 1. So you wind up with 5, 2 from each of your careers, and 1 from your species. And when you hit level 5 and level 9 as a character, you enter a new tier of play, and you can choose one of those capstones as what you're leveling up with.
Okay.
So you
Cool.
can get like high-level teleportation magic as a red wizard, or you could get much more powerful fire spells with him.
Right. So it is like a spell tree.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah. And then we have probably about 20 spells that are generally available as features that they can just choose.
Hmm.
They use up some of their character creation, right? So each character gets a feature. Well, that was yours. So someone else might get a cool combat trick, or might be immune to poison, or whatever it might be. But you got this extra spell, and that's fine. Uh, and so that, and humans start with a bonus feature. So a human caster in our game could, if they really focused, start with essentially a spell book of 8 spells.
Right.
But they won't gain tons of them as they keep going,
Right.
unless they are able to find the right magic artifacts, because there are certain books and tomes they can get that will give them more magic.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and I think though, like not having an overabundance of spells will certainly speed up, the action, of it as well. There's not too much they have to keep on wondering, should I cast this or cast that? The
Yeah.
situations will be like, oh well, this is the spell that I use in this situation practically every time, kind of thing, and so it'll become a lot easier for them to just memorize. Basically, no pun intended.
Yeah,
Memorize using those spells more frequently.
And
So
and there's about 90 or no, there's about 50 of those spells in the game, and then we also have certain spells that have that the knowledge is lost but are embedded in certain artifacts. And so this is a classic kind of Dark Ages situation where a great empire fell some centuries ago, and so its ruins are still around, and all the artifacts in the game world basically are left over from this civilization that knew how to make them. But people now don't know how to make them. So if you want access to some of that magic, you need to find those items.
Yeah, and as Death Angels here says, that's kind of neat, unlocking new spells, and that's so. So you have some other game systems that you have in the works, right? So you have Dropship, and then an unnamed superhero, possibility. Once you get over those hurdles and everything. So how far down the road before we start seeing expansions for Hero Wars?
Oh, for Horde Wars. So
Horde Wars,
like I
sorry.
said,
Horde Wars, I just combined
the intent. The
Yeah.
intent is not expansions. The intent is expansions for the game master, but that
Right.
all the player stuff is there. You need nothing
Right.
further. But we may introduce some custom monsters.
Okay.
We plan to do that in the dungeon that we're working on. We also may include some additional custom traps, as there are sample ones in the book, but those aren't. That's not meant to be a comprehensive list.
Right.
And the same is true for unique treasure items, in part because, well, we do offer you about 150 unique artifacts in the book, as well as a magic weapon generator table that'll make like thousands of them. At some point, you might start going, well, we found this one rare item, and what happens if we roll that result again? Well, obviously, you could just re-roll.
Right.
But one of the things that we can do with the supplement is go, hey, if you run into that situation, even though there are over 100 to find, and and thousands of weapons to find, if you run into that situation, here are some more cool artifacts to play with. Some of which are specifically in this dungeon, others are generally available and could be rolled. And I think that kind of thing is good. It gives the players and the game master something fun to utilize, but it is not necessary to play.
Right.
Because that really bothered me when game companies essentially try to farm their customers for money. That's not a good thing.
Right.
I would much rather give you something that is actually valuable to you. Like when I look at a splat book, especially from 5th edition, that was one of the reasons we moved away from it, other than it just couldn't handle what we
Right.
wanted to do. Um, about 2/3 of the content is useless or more as far as running the game, playing the game, doing anything in the game. It's just a giant waste of space. And
Right.
so that and some of them are worse than others. And you really, to me, if you're going to do any kind of sequel or supplement, it should be full of valuable things.
Right. Right.
Just have 10 pages of useful information.
Yeah. So, I had a question on my mind, and then off grid. Good to see you and everything. Have a great time in your game. Thanks for stopping in. So,
and and as far as the other stuff, so Dropship and our superhero game, tentatively Heroes of Franklin City, that one's kind of a long title. Those will be using the same core mechanics, still D12 based, uses the same core rules, except as appropriate to genre. So, for example, castle walls are significantly more durable in Horde Wars than they would be in Dropship, where you could bombard a planet. Castle wall is not going to help you too much, but that other than genre appropriate things, that the core rules are the same, like how you build a character, what actions are, what maneuvers are, and that's one of the other areas that we found actually increased the speed of play, which you wouldn't expect. So a maneuver is a once around ability to act off turn. Most of the maneuvers that characters gain have some kind of a trigger, like an enemy attacks you and you can try to block. You can block the attack, or that sort of thing. But some are proactive, like a haste spell is a maneuver to do.
Right.
And there's also like a backslash where you follow up an attack or a couple attacks with yet another one, because that's a real move that swordsmen will use, and so on. Anyway, we had a few because we needed them to make certain abilities work for certain careers, and our playtesters basically told us that they wanted way more maneuvers. So we made it so that every career eventually will get a maneuver. They don't all start with them though. There might be an exception of the 21 careers. There might be one that doesn't. But in general, maneuvers are widely available and are also something you can pick up as features. And what we found is that when players have access to one or more of them, you'd expect it would slow down the game. But actually what winds up happening is they pay more attention at the game table, and the game moves quicker. Because they can interrupt, because they could do something off turn, they're watching for their moment.
Right. Yeah. So now I remembered the question I was going to ask. So getting back to just content being created for any of your game systems. So what licensing do you currently use for Horde Wars and your other games that you're working on?
So basically, contact us. It mentions that in Horde Wars Advanced. We are interested in having people make content for our game system, but we do, because we're a small company with limited reach, it is very important to us that the first time someone hears about Horde Wars, gets to play in a game, buys a product maybe for Horde Wars, that it not be awful.
Right.
And so we do not currently have an open game license. We simply have if you want to make content for us, reach out for our game. We would love to work with you. There are 3 or 4 creators currently in the process of working on content, and we basically just have to make sure that if they use any content from our core books, that they don't attempt to claim it as their own intellectual property.
Right.
And beyond that,
but your core rule books are using currently like Creative Commons or
no. They're copyrighted.
Oh, they're just copyrighted. So straight
they're
up
copyrighted.
Okay.
And we don't object to some of that being used. with our specific permission.
Right. All right. I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, and then the carrot what we offer for that is this: we own all of our own artwork.
Mm.
And so, in the event you decided, for example, to make a licensed product with us, if you were like, "Yeah, I want to do that," we wouldn't charge you anything. We'd love to have you make stuff.
Right.
We would just want to make sure that it's good, that it actually got play
Right.
tested,
Yeah.
that the layout is legible,
Yeah.
that you didn't, I don't know, make the artifact of infinite winning,
Yeah.
or also we don't want people to make pornography with our game. Like,
Right. Yeah. You want to have some control over, because even if they say not affiliated with or whatever, that's going to kind of taint you if
Yeah.
it is just the Wild West out there for printing stuff under your quote unquote, IP.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, no, I
Exactly.
definitely get that.
But the thing is, since we do own our own artwork, if someone does make something that we agree to,
Right.
we can actually license you to use some of our artwork in your product, so it can actually be cheaper to make the product
Right.
for you.
Right.
And beyond that, so I think at least one of the guys who's been in the chat is actually in that process with us right now.
Right.
And we've got, like I said, 3 or 4, and we'll see if any of those projects get finished, come to fruition.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
But on our end, essentially we will probably eventually do an open game license, but
Mhm.
that is, Lord willing, if we
Yeah.
hit a certain critical mass of active game masters. We have a
Right.
couple ways to check how many we have.
Mhm.
One of which is a lot of them wind up commenting or reaching out to us. Like
Right.
when we released Advanced, we had people who I didn't even know were running games replying, "Oh, great! My players are going to love this."
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a way to check. But another one is a lot of game masters tend to be the ones who buy supplements. So when
Yeah.
we
Oh,
release
Yeah.
our dungeon, sales on that dungeon will help let us know about how many active game masters are there. And then some people reach out or are blogging about running the game or this kind of thing. So
Right.
anyway, we need about 1,000. We figure we need about 1,000 active game masters to want to do an open game license. That at that point, it's probably big enough that we can risk weird stuff getting created.
Yeah. Is there is there a game master screen, or at least in the works, or anything like that? Along those lines. Does it even need that? Actually,
don't
that's
think
an
it does.
even better question.
I don't think it does. We've done our best to embed everything you need on the page in question. Now there are exceptions, like if it's a core rule, go look in the core rules. Like we use a term called let me pull it up here. So I actually had someone complain about this the other day, who had never played the game. He just heard a review and is like, "Oh, that's crazy." So the word protection is explained in the core rules because it's used like 200 or 300 times in the book.
Right.
So we couldn't repeat the definition for you everywhere.
Right.
That would be a ridiculous waste of space. So
Right.
protection means you take half damage from that kind of damage. So
I
like
see.
blunt protection, you take half damage from blunt. Very simple. As soon as you get it, you're never going to have to look it up again.
Right.
That is explained in the core rules. Otherwise, though, everything we try to put everything on the same page. So if I jump over to, and this includes spells. We're not having you go reference another book or another page when you are fighting an enemy spellcaster. If you give me a moment, I'm going to scroll to a
Sure. Fine. Take your time. In the meantime, I'm going to give away some free memberships. And so I can just switch views here, and let's go to here and membership gifting, and
there.
Let's send 5 now. So I'm going to just read these off while you're pulling that up. And so let's see. Roger got a free membership. Judd, hey, Judd, I know you were just in. Panther, no one of consequence, and Space Zeus. That's a new name for me as well. Panther and Space Zeus are two new names for me. So congratulations to the 5 of you. And yeah, I'll reach out to Roger and tell him, hey, you got a free membership now. So Roger is actually the individual that ran Central New York RPG Con. So yeah, I have several on here that are convention runners, and basically, it's great to have them, coming to the channel, and I've virtually met all of them now in person, at least once. So it's really good to to have that kind of a network. Yeah. So congratulations, everyone.
If anyone wants us to come to your convention, please do reach out. We don't have to be special guests. We're happy to pay for a booth, that kind of thing. But we may have never heard of your convention, and if you tell us, then we'll know it exists.
Yeah. No, I will be sharing with you the links to all of the conventions that I have been to, and then I can even tell you the names of the individuals that have run them. If you want to reach out and say, hey, I'm a creator. I have a game system that's out there. Would love to attend to run some demo sessions or whatever you want, however you want to approach it. And, and then they'll certainly be very open to having you come in and everything. I think probably the easiest one for you to get to, considering where you're from, or possibly the easiest too, is the Utica, New York one. And then the other one might be Massachusetts, which that's Rising Phoenix. That shouldn't be too crazy for you.
You'll have to tell them to me. It won't stick right now, but yeah, that'd be
good.
Good.
I will. Like I said, I will private message you on X with all of those links, and you can check them out.
The sharing thing should be waiting for you.
Oh, let's see. You might have to send it again.
Okay. There you go.
It is. Okay.
All right. Now, if you zoom in on
that, I will expand that, maximize that.
Yeah. So if you look here, that is all the spells are actually written out on the page for you.
I see.
So you don't have to go flipping around in the book to find this information. When you're running even something like a Lich, who's a pretty high-end caster.
Right.
And then on the next page on this, you have all the rules about liches in our game hide their hearts, essentially, rather than have factories. And so if you find the lich's heart and destroy it, you destroy the lich.
Right.
And so the rules for that are just right there under one of the two stat blocks. But you get this very, very quickly. And the same is true if I jump up here to maybe too far. Let me look to dragons. Like this is a pretty high level dragon in our game, probably one of the most powerful. And if we just scroll up, her stat block is essentially what you see on the screen. There's a little bit cut off because of the size of how we're sharing, but it's right there.
Yeah,
and that's all you need to run a dragon that would be appropriate for like a 10th, 12th level party, or if you just want to give your players a really hard time and watch them die. Or maybe they did it to themselves. I don't know. You could, of course, have a party of dedicated dragon slayers who have all the right gear and have all the right research, and maybe they can take it down, take this Queen of Dragons down earlier. But we offer a bunch of stat blocks, and we try to do this in a way where you get a good variety of different kind of power levels or roles for different monsters. So you've got kind of 3 different categories of dragons, the weakest of which have like 240 hit points, and the strongest of which are in the like 600 to 700 hit points. But the same is true for a much weaker monster, like say let me find it here. Say a skeleton.
Right.
We've got, here's a rotted skeleton, so it's not in great shape. It can still kind of fight. And then here's a skeleton warrior. He's actually got some decent equipment. A skeleton creeper basically can appear to be a pile of bones, but it can get up and attack you with a dagger or a short bow.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we go down here, we've got a dread skeleton that basically has an aura that drains you constantly. We've also got a skeleton champion, like in plate armor, fighting you with sword and shield. And then we've got a skeleton sorcerer.
Right.
So you can get a lot of different encounters, even just fighting skeletons.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives a good variety of, so you can kind of, throw them a curveball once in a while, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we do have let me see here. We've got this piece of artwork. So Death Knights, there's some actual like trademark ownership issues. And rather than trying to figure all that out, we instead have Horned Lords.
Yeah.
Definite, legally distinct Horned Lords.
Yeah.
But they are from the Wild Hunt, and we lean into that
Cool.
mythology. And it is a brutal fight. The Horned Lord stat block and his friends, the Hounds.
Yeah, so looking at this, so I look at these, this particular stat block, and I'm seeing that they're a +5 combat. So they're rolling a d12 +5.
Yeah.
All right, and so that's going to give them, that possibility, at least even against its own defense, right? That's pushing like on an average of an 11, let's say. So you really don't need much more than a couple points higher in order to hit itself. For instance, that's how the defense works, right? That becomes the target number.
Correct.
Yeah. And anything add to that, or that's just the flat out?
You could get like a flanking bonus, for example, which he's obviously got a bunch of hounds to flank with.
Yeah.
In which case, you'd get a +2 circumstance to that. So then he'd be rolling with a +7 to his die
Right.
rolls.
And so the +5 to survival, that is not related to not taking damage, correct?
No, those are skills.
Yeah, those are skills.
So all the player characters get 6 skills because they get essentially 3 from each of their careers.
Right.
A few careers give you more, so you could have a character with maybe up to 8.
Wow.
And then the NPCs and monsters all have 4.
I see.
So survival is like tracking, living off the land, that sort of thing.
All right, that's really cool.
Hunting. But this guy, I think life drain is probably the main cool thing about this monster.
Right.
Life drain and Slayer combined.
So the first time you drop an opponent to 0 hit points during each round of combat, you regain your full hit points. Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
So all he has to do is drop one guy, and he's back to 180 hit points.
Right. Jeez, that's insane.
And Slayer helps him do it. Check out this maneuver.
Right. So the Slayer maneuver, make a single melee weapon attack. Any creature damaged by that attack loses half of its maximum hit points. Wow.
So you take the damage and lose half your max health.
Right. Well, which means that it's really like a coup de grace kind of thing on anyone that's brought below, 50% of their hit points to begin with.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Slayer. Yeah, like the rock band, right?
Yeah.
So,
and he, but he's built to potentially kill a party. He doesn't always.
Yes.
But about a third of the time in our playtesting, we found that he created a TPK, which is what we want. He's a high-end monster.
Yeah, it's not something to be taken lightly, or
Yeah,
certainly not with a small group, a small party. That's where larger parties will come in handy for that kind of thing,
yeah,
or just very high level characters.
yeah. And we got all the kind of classic monsters, and then a number of unique monsters as well. Um, but anything, skeletons, zombies, wights, liches, goblins, ogres, trolls, giants. Although our giants, I would say, are more realistic. They're not like elemental giants.
Right,
They're more just really big, monstrous people.
right.
Um, and they compared to like an ogre is basically a low tech and stupid kind of giant,
Yeah.
whereas the giants proper have high technology. They're using stuff like spring steel,
Hmm.
um, and that distinction I think really helps make them feel different. Because when I played D&D, I really had a hard time, like, not mentally but mechanically separating, say, a hill giant from an ogre. They're pretty similar.
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
actually looking at Yef hounds. I've used those before in AD&D, and they're a really interesting creature to use as well.
yeah. And you notice it has an elemental bite.
Right. Yeah.
It can choose to do fire or piercing, so it can
Yeah.
actually like get through armor that would normally protect you.
Yeah. That's pretty
And do you
cool.
see that trait, frenzy?
Yes. You
So
deal
that
an extra die of damage against creatures that are below their maximum hit points. Wow.
yeah,
So yeah. So if you have something that's slightly wounded, it's going to be much more much more effective against.
yeah, yeah, against that person. But the
Yeah.
thing is, so the monsters, many of them have that kind of trait to help indicate how they should behave. So
Hmm.
like flankers get a bonus if you're next to their allies, to get a bonus die of damage. Ambushers do an extra die during the first round, and so on. The players, though, can get special material weapons pretty early on by purchasing or finding them.
Right.
And they can do an extra die of damage by using the right type of weapon against the creature.
Wow.
So, silver for monsters, bronze for beasts, and black iron for people.
Oh, that's really cool. That's an easy way to figure out what to use against what. Especially if you're carrying like three different daggers. That's a little bit easier than if you're you know I'm carrying three two-handed swords. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit more difficult.
Yeah. And then we actually, now, the way that we embed lore, we don't try to fill the book with lore because that wouldn't be a lot of game material. But when we had the space, like this, it's not that we didn't do artwork. There's a full page artwork right next to this.
Hmm.
But we had a little space and we're like, okay, we can tell you about the Horned Lord. So
Yeah.
there's all of the lore. other
Hmm.
than other than there's a specific Horned Lord, there's a little more lore about in another spot because
That's cool.
it's related to the orcs.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
then
that's very interesting and very useful. I really like the way that it just lays out each of the creatures, and you see you know, exactly what they can do, how often they can do it, and and whatnot. So yeah, it's very, very um, nice layout.
thank you. And so this here
Hmm.
is the artifact that he's holding,
Yes,
statted out for the players, like if they were to capture it.
right.
And the same is true if I were to go to, let me just jump down here to the Medusa,
Right. Yeah,
where
her longbow.
yeah, this is the longbow she's using
Hmm.
in this stat block. So if you defeat a Medusa who has a longbow, you can then capture her lightning bow.
Hmm.
And the same is true for the Minotaur, although you're going to have to be very, very strong, have the right item to be able to wield his axe.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so any of them that have like treasure weapons, the
Hmm.
item is listed for you, so it's ready to go. Because again, we don't want you to have to waste a lot of time looking things up.
Right. Yeah.
It's not fun for you. It's not fun for the players. It's much better to be able to go, wow, okay, you defeated the monster. I mean, we're going to roll for treasure. But before that, you got this directly from the monster. Yeah.
I was trying to get rid of that. Sorry about that. That was on for a long time. So a lot of really innovative things here, and a lot of things that I have not seen before, and considering the number of systems that I do have and I've read and played and run and everything like that, that's pretty pretty impressive, to have different systems and everything, and things that I haven't seen before. I really do like the idea of just having a 3 different categories of weapon, kind of damages that that could spread out. So that's so much easier to do than to actually look and say, well, I have to look, does this specific creature affected by silver more so? I really do like the the categories that you have there. So this for beasts, this for monsters, this for humans or
yeah.
human.
We got the idea from Tolkien and from The Witcher.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, and somebody else mentioned The Witcher earlier on, so I guess it's one of your play testers that mentioned that.
The Witcher has 2.
Yeah.
Right. Steel for men, silver for monsters.
Right.
And Tolkien has a kind of black iron.
Right.
He has the cursed metal that can be disproportionately harmful
Right.
to you. And we were like, okay, well, these are all pretty cool. And then I did some research, and bronze was used a fair amount in weapons manufacture. And we're like, well, why don't we use bronze for beasts?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's got good alliteration. It's easy to remember, bronze for beasts.
Right.
But also, you wouldn't normally make, in a world with steel, bronze weapons to hunt.
Right.
People, because the steel would mess up the bronze. However, bronze is still perfectly fine against an animal. It doesn't wear armor.
Right.
And we're like, okay.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So I don't know if you had any questions about. So one of the things that people ask occasionally is about our armor. Our armor does actually protect you. It gives you protection against usually 2 or 3 damage types, and we base that on historical armors.
Mm-hmm.
And so a gambeson is an example I'll give a lot, which is just in real life, a gambeson is pretty effective against stopping a piercing attack or a blunt attack.
Right.
And it is absolutely garbage at stopping a slashing attack.
Right.
And so that is how it's statted out, where you can wear a gambeson, you can wear it at formal events. Peasants will also wear, cheap gambesons, but if somebody comes at you with a sword, you really don't want to be wearing a gambeson.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to AD&D too, where they had separate categories of they changed the armor class based on the type of weapon you were using against them.
Yeah.
And then I've seen other game systems where they have various conditions that those armors would basically prevent from happening while you're wearing them and everything. So yeah, no, that's another really good way to make people think about, how do I want to equip my character? What are some of the things that I, potentially, going to face here, and now I'm going to wear an appropriate armor for it, especially once they get a little bit higher level and they can have several suits of, different things and start, hey, I'm gonna specifically suit myself up for going against these type of creatures as opposed to those type of creatures.
And I think the same is true for taking down an opponent.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, he's wearing a breastplate. I should use this kind of weapon and not others.
Yeah.
Because that will be good at taking him down. His armor won't protect him. And so you can make more by paying attention in the game world. You can actually be more effective.
Right. Yeah. And we've been doing that for a long time. I mean, I used to carry a slashing weapon and a blunt weapon just in case you're out to fight skeletons, right? And it
Oh
was
yeah,
like, it's
you
like
absolutely should.
don't bother shooting arrows at a skeleton. They do half damage if you're even if you do hit them, and it's just better to use that mace, or that club or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's been something that has always been, it was really built into AD&D First Edition with the weapon speeds and those kinds of
Yeah,
uh, weapon to armor class adjustments and such. So
yeah, and we
yeah, so
embedded a lot of that in
yeah,
pretty simple keyword lists to help them
yes,
behave like their historical counterparts in a fairly small amount of space, and
mhm,
have you be able to do cool things.
yeah,
Like you can knock somebody off his horse with a polearm. That
right,
that can happen on a critical hit.
yeah,
You don't have to like make a special action to do it. That's just what will occur if you crit on the rider.
right, yeah,
And the same is true of if you crit on the mount, you could knock it prone,
yeah,
assuming it didn't die in the first place.
right,
Uh, and so we wanted to play around with that a bit, um, and again, trying to make it as clean, as efficient as possible in the space, so that you aren't having to look a lot of stuff up, and also so that there's more room for other game content. Uh,
all right, that's really cool. All right, so again, when are some of like when is dropship going to start? Like like how are you going to present it out there? Are you
sure.
Kickstarters? You do other kinds of things, or you just go straight to store?
So let me, if I can, I'll talk a little bit about our business model there. So a lot of guys we know do Kickstarters, not all, but a lot of them. And I'm not like morally opposed to Kickstarters. It's
Hmm.
fine. But as a business, Nate and I would like to have Blackwall Games continue existing for many years. Lord willing, we don't control the future, but that's what we would like. And what tends to happen from what we've seen with companies that really rely on Kickstarters for funding is they, one, tend to run out of product and not replace it. Uh, they'll do a big Kickstarter and then that'll be it. That's the whole production run.
Right,
Uh, and then and that's not what we want. We want people,
right,
if
right,
someone enjoys our game, like say you buy a copy of Horde Wars and you're playing with somebody in 10 years, we want people to be able to see that and go buy it.
right.
Uh, and that requires us to be able to get inventory. And then the other thing is, um, they tend to, over time, eventually hit a bankrupting Kickstarter. Eventually, because they're constantly marketing the new thing, the new
Right.
thing, the new thing. Eventually, those companies tend to hit a point where one or more Kickstarters simply fail
Fail.
for
Right.
whatever reason, whether they misjudged their audience, um, whatever it might be, or miscalculated the pricing, and that
Mhm.
tends to bankrupt the company.
Right.
Not always, but
Yeah.
often enough. And so we wanted a more stable business model. It's
Hmm.
not as quick. It doesn't give us an instant reward like a Kickstarter will.
Yeah.
Uh, but but yeah, so we paid for our own production runs for Horde Wars, and so for Dropship, our plan is to do something a little different. We do intend to pay for a production run, but with an asterisk. We are willing to pay out of pocket for a soft cover one. That'll cost us 3 to 5 grand roughly for for a print run
Right.
of high quality soft cover books,
Right.
um, in full color and so forth. And
Hmm.
we currently have an artist working on art for the game. We're currently doing. I've done probably like 7 hours of design work on it today. Uh, but that's but the what we're planning to do is offer pre-orders through our website for 1 or 2 months prior to our print run. And if we get enough pre-orders,
Hmm.
we'll charge you for the amount we'd sell the soft cover for.
Right.
Say it's $50,
Right.
like Horde Wars. If we get enough pre-orders, we would then give you a hardcover instead.
I see.
That would be
Yeah.
our incentive, because essentially, the difference between printing soft covers and hard covers is about $10,000.
Yeah.
So if we get in that month or two window, 200 pre-orders, we're willing to be at negative money for the product to do the print run, because you have to
Right.
have certain minimum numbers to do
Right. Right. Right.
a high quality hardcover print
Yeah.
run, and that tends to be 500, 1,000, somewhere in there plus.
Yeah.
And so that's our intent, that we're going to go, hey, if you want, guys, you can pre-order with us, to get the PDF, to get the soft cover, and if enough of you pre-order, then we will give you a hardcover and PDF instead.
Yes.
I don't know what you think of that idea. This is something we've been.
No, you know what? It's a, you have to be mindful of the things. Like I just put up the thing with Diamond, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things in this hobby, in the industry of publishing and everything, and I am no expert at that, but I see enough people talking about it, and it's a really a scary place to navigate, so I can really appreciate trying to think of other ways of doing things, because I've seen Kickstarters fail, and for a variety of reasons. I've seen Kickstarters that were a failure even though they met their funding goals, because the person either was nowhere near done writing the project, or was an outright scammer, which is more rare than the first example, or they just they run out of the funding to actually ship it,
Right.
and
The cost.
that's another thing that and just delay, and to the point where now you're waiting. Like, I think my longest one was like 5 years, that I waited, and then when it finally came out, I was like, my gosh, thankfully I only paid $15 for this, because it was more amateurish than I would have produced, and I'm a complete amateur. But I was like, there's nothing to this game system, and so it's been luckily, knock on wood, a very rare instance for me to come across a Kickstarter that I consider to be, even after its delivery, I still consider it to be a complete failure.
Yeah.
Almost worse than if they didn't ever send it out at all. I was like, oh my gosh, it's
The thing is, so for us, we didn't want to do that so much, like this funding model for through our website for our first couple books, because and the same is true even if we were to do a Kickstarter.
Right.
We didn't want to do that at first because we wanted to show people we could actually deliver.
Right. Yeah.
But there are products.
Yeah, I know some people who have, and I've said it repeatedly, like they have like 16 products, out on Kickstarter, and they were all delivered, not just, delivered eventually, delivered on time, like as promised, like to the day practically. I was like, oh my gosh, how do you have such a long track run of just being bang, 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 bang? And the key is to be like 95% done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And never, never doing anything that is, not close to, we just have a few more things to tweak out, But if you're waiting for artwork, that's the other, thing that hangs up a lot of smaller publishers too, is they're awaiting art to come in, and that's their biggest expense, and it's the one thing that's out of their control again. That and shipping costs.
Oh, sure. So we want to have the PDF done, other than maybe finishing the layout work. Like, we want to have all the material for the PDF complete before we're even taking pre-orders. Because ideally, if we do if we do the pre-order thing that I described, what we would like to have happen is when you pre-order, you get the PDF, like right then.
Yeah.
And then you wait for our print run for either softcover or hardcover based on the number of pre-orders. And the softcover, we can give a pretty defined delivery time. We've worked with the company. They've done several print runs for us at this point.
Right.
They're in our state. We could physically go there if we had to. Like, um, and then as far as the hardcover, there are 3 companies that we're considering. I've gotten quotes for the right book length and stuff from 2 of them, and one of our customers and colleagues has worked with one of those in the past, and then another colleague has worked with a third that he recommended. Talked to some guys at North Texas RPG Con. A few of them had heard of this publisher as well. So basically, we've got 3 possible hardcover printing companies, and by the time we'd be going, hey, pre-order. If we get X number of pre-orders, then we'll spring for the rest to give you a hardcover instead.
Right.
That we will have that locked in already. We'll have pricing and approximate delivery dates. Obviously, you can't control the weather or FedEx strikes or whatever. But as much as we can have, it should be ready for delivery on this date. One of those companies does fulfillment itself, which would be awfully convenient for us. The other 2, we would be doing fulfillment ourselves, like we did with our last products.
Right. Yeah. And I just posted up there, a comment about like Trollord Games, not just although they've been doing more backer kit than Kickstarters, because as a consumer, right? I like the fact that backer kit lets you spread it out over a 4-month pay period. So that's that makes a difference between purchasing something for $80 and purchasing something for $200. You know what I'm saying? If I can break it out over 4 months, I'll go with the 200 over the 80.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a much more cost-effective way of doing it. The other advantage that Trollord Games has is that they're printing their own stuff now, and they're expanding so that I believe they'll be able to even do their own boxes and their own hardcovers, because they still have to go outside of the house for hardcovers.
I think that's really wise of them.
No, they've been ahead of the curve since I think they said around 2004 they shifted to just publishing in the United States. Initially I think they were in Canada, and then maybe after their first printings and everything, they moved it all to the United States. And so that's going back 20 years ago that they had the foresight to see, hey, you know what? And now, recently in this new response is that they're expanding their publishing ability as far as their printing ability by quite a bit, actually. And they're going to open it up to other people who want to approach them and say, hey, I have this project, can you print it for me?
Long run, I'd be happy to work with them on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right now, though, I don't think they'll be on time for any of our current projects.
No, probably not. They're I don't think they've planted the first shovel yet.
Yeah.
You do have the land. They have everything ready to go, but they do have to get started.
But I am curious what you and maybe the people in the chat think of this idea of pre-orders through our website, given that we can deliver products, because we did a poll, which is why we decided to do that.
Yeah.
We had 70, 100 people respond, just a quick X poll, and the 70-some% of the respondents were like, yeah, we'd rather order through your website.
Yeah, I think like when we first started talking, this evening, and I was like, we were talking about, well, I was only seeing the drive-through, and then you reminded me, well, go to the website, and the website is a much better, way of doing it. Just like, you're doing a pre-order, and having that pre-order perk attached to it. Like if we hit this threshold, now you're going to get the hardcover instead of the soft cover. And I think that's a really good idea, because again, it encourages, people to spread the word, number one, and say, hey, you know what? If we can get it to this threshold, now I don't know if you're dangling that carrot in front of them saying, if we get to this many, I think that, that might put off some people, but I would just say, hey, if it gets to a certain point, then we're going to convert this over, and leave it a little bit of a mystery, as to what that threshold is, because you might not even be aware of exactly where that's
When we
going to
have
happen
when we
either.
have our updated quotes at that time, we'll
Yeah.
know. It'll be
All right.
somewhere between 200 and 300 people,
Yeah.
realistically, for pre-orders. I guess the same person could pre-order more than once if
You
they
should
really
very
wanted. But
easily get
yeah,
you should very easily get 300 pre-orders. I mean,
I hope so.
just looking at, just looking at what I've seen others do and everything like that. I mean, that's essentially like getting 300 backers. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not that high a bar to meet on that. So I think that you'll do fine. Um, let's see what else we have. I think hardcovers. Well, actually, let's see, because you asked. So let's see. Let me get to all of them. Yep, I spent a lot more than when they would have the TLG, where it's not for the pay over time. Yeah, yeah. I think pay over time is something that Backer Kit does. So that might be something you consider too, is to have payment plan kind of thing for. I mean, if it's like $70, not. I mean, that's not an issue. But if you started putting together packages and everything, I was like, oh, this is $200, then I think that it might be better to spread that out.
Oh, sure.
Let's see. Um, let's see. I think that the hardcovers are currently done in Michigan, but their expansion is great for the industry. Yes. Um, so, you mean Trollord Games is doing their hardcovers in Michigan? So in your home state, that's where they're doing the.
If
The
that's
hard,
true, I'm very surprised. We have not been able to find a good hardcover printer in this state. We've had to go to Tennessee, I think, for our current ones.
which is closer to them anyway, because they're in Arkansas. But I don't know if their hardcovers actually say where they're printed. I'll have to double check that. Um, let's see. They did
Yeah.
their starter set
Kickstarter-
pre-orders through their
Kickstarter
website.
does-
They can track everything through their house with their website instead of using, yeah, the drive-through RPG is kind of it's a little bit wonky. It takes a long time to get stuff from them too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Their delivery isn't quick. Also on the selling end, drive-through RPG takes 25 to 35%
yeah,
of everything that you sell. So even though now we don't sell much through drive-through RPG, we don't advertise it really at all. We do sell some,
yeah,
but the primary sales are through our website and through
yeah,
conventions, and mostly because that's better for us. The reason, and it's better for the customer often as well, because we can afford to charge you less.
yeah.
And so the reason we are even on drive-through RPG is because there are a few people who will pretty much only buy PDFs through drive-through.
Right.
And we're like, okay, fine. For the people who are really into that, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly for PDFs. It's actually the most convenient, probably, and so many of us have affiliates attached to it as well. So it's like I can go in there. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I got $30 sitting in there. I can buy this PDF, that PDF, and whatnot, and it just becomes something that's not only convenient, but for basically taking what I'm earning or what anyone else is earning from either their direct sales or their advertising using the affiliate link is also helpful. So it's I have a much larger PDF catalog, in library than I do, hard and soft cover books. But having those various options like you have on your website, I think is huge. All right, because it gives everyone a different entry level that they can enter in, at basically 3 different levels.
Oh, sure. And if they just want to try the low level version of the game,
yeah,
you can get the PDF of Basic for $7.
right.
Like,
Yeah, you really can't beat that.
yeah.
All right, so let's see what else do we have here. Hey, Gabrielle, how's it going? It took almost 3 months to get my Adventures Dark and Deep ones. Um, yeah, and sometimes, yeah, it shouldn't have been that long. Um, I've never had it take that long, but there might have just been a backlog, at the time too. Depends on when you were doing it. I'm waiting for my Rollmaster Unified ones now. It's been 2 weeks. Yeah, it should. Again, it could be time of the year that you're putting in, because they get backlogged as well. Also does yearbooks, yeah. So if you're going to a yearbook company for the hardcovers and you're doing it in May or May, you're screwed. You're
Oh
waiting
yeah.
until that whole thing is done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, there might be other backlog kind of issues that you're facing.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to keep in mind. Don't buy hardcovers from like drive through or anything like that around that time of the year. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So
And then I saw a comment. Let me see if I can find it. Paul Beckleda or Backleda.
Oh, Paul. Yeah. Let's find him. Uh, is it this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing too, right? Like you're paying them for 35%, and you're not guaranteed a front page spot for even a moment.
Kickstarter is like 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
They take 5-ish%. There's a little bit of tax wonkiness with them, and then their credit card, the company they use to process credit cards, will also take up to 5%.
Oh.
Whereas drive-through is the one nailing you at 35.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's what. Oh, he's talking about Kickstarter. Yeah, you're not guaranteed a front page. Well, you're not guaranteed a front page on Drive Through RPG yet. I mean, it might be there for a brief moment until something else is the brand new thing on there. And with the amount that they're actually getting, submitted to them, you're going to be off that page really fast unless you're a hot seller, and you make that, copper list, is the first one.
Yeah, I don't know why, but for some reason, so we sold almost no copies of Advanced on drive-through initially. It was pretty much only through our website and in person. Right. And then the last month or two, maybe 2 months, we've hit copper seller and then pushed a bit past that. So
I can tell you why. You've been doing YouTube channels.
Yeah, but that's just the last week or two. A bunch of those sales were prior. So,
but I've been hearing about your game around the YouTube circles for a little bit, certainly more than the last couple of weeks.
Good.
So yeah, so that's how when it came up again on my channel, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna look into it because I have been hearing it for at least 2 months. Let's say I've been hearing about it,
Sure.
So and it was one of those things. I was like, yeah, I've been hearing about it. I'm going to get around to taking a look at it. So yeah, you're going to see your drive-through numbers increase by your appearances on YouTube channels that have affiliate programs, which mine does too. So if you want to get Horde Wars, go through my affiliate channel and then you can get it there too.
I think you might have just got one. I had one come through when we were talking.
So, so definitely go through the channels, whether it's mine or anybody else's, and let's get Todd some of those sales up on Drive Through RPG, and so you'll go from what'd you say you were at copper. So
yeah, actually,
silver's at 500.
I don't know their breakdowns.
I don't know either.
We've sold, I think a little over $11,000 in product since release. I'll put it that way.
Oh,
most of which is not drive-through.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Not just drive-through. Yeah.
Yeah, drive-through is
Drive-through is the number of copies that are over 25 cents. All right. And
Yeah.
the thing that they kind of like, it's a little bit weird, is that if you do pay what you wish, or however they say it, pay what you will. So if you do pay what you will, but with a suggested price of, let's say, $1,
Yeah.
you're not going to get credit for any of them that sell over the 20 cents. They're going to treat that as if you marked it for free.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get the credit for having made any sales above and beyond that. They also don't give you additional credit above and beyond that either. So I've had people, give me $5 for something that I posted up there for free. All right, that doesn't count as a sale,
Right.
for those purposes. And I'm like, well, I thought, and they said, nope, that's not the way it works. You got to at least start with a threshold of like 25 cents, whatever it was. And then I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I do have some sellers that were close to copper or even exceeded copper. And yet I guess because they're a couple years old, they never got the tag, and It's like, I don't care. That's not why this stuff is there. The stuff is there for people to just see, hey, I got something up there. And, if they want to spend 50 cents on it, fine, go right ahead, and if they want to take it for free, fine. It's there for you to use, kind of thing. But I'd like to see a lot of people going to yours and picking it up, and
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
And by the way, if you do order through our website, you will get an email. It's not automated, so I'll have to send it out. I usually do it once a day or once every couple days. But you'll get an email inviting you to our Guilded server. Guilded is like Discord, but it's owned by the Roblox Corporation. So you need the Roblox account to join. You don't have to play the game. It's basically like Discord, but it's a little more free speech oriented, which we like. I have some friends, including our cover artist, who has been banned from Discord as like a blanket ban of an entire server.
Really? Wow.
For the behavior of one guy. Like that's not a good thing, or for the behavior of a group of people, or because of the topic they were discussing.
Right.
Like it varies as to why, but a number of people I know have had that happen, and so that's why I use Guilded. I'd not like I think that neither is perfect, but you're invited there, and if you buy through our website, and if you take the invite and join, you can actually play online with other customers. You can try out some of the stuff that we're working on when we do play tests. You can ask us questions, and interact directly in that way. Also, sometimes I'll hang out and do design sessions on there, and so on. In addition, if you buy through DriveThruRPG, you're also welcome, but I can't send you an invite. You have to tell me that you ordered and send us your order information, so then I can invite you. DriveThru won't let me send you a link.
Yeah.
And so I did want to mention that. So we do have an online community, and not only that, but we do make an effort to play with people in person. So sometimes one of our customers will have a group of 10, 20 friends he's willing to get together to play Horde Wars. If we can make it happen, we will literally come to you to game if you get a group like that. Now, we have to make sure it's logistically cost effective.
Right.
So it's much easier if it's closer to us physically. If you're further away, you'll just need a few more people. But we've done these kind of private events a number of times over the last couple of years, both for basic and then recently for advanced. And that tends to do really well. That's a lot of fun for everyone. It's pretty good for us for sales as well. And then and we also occasionally will invite customers to come play with us. So in like 2 weeks, I'm scheduled to have somewhere between 3 and 8 customers from the Great Lakes area drive and come and game with me for a couple days. Possibly more, actually, because there's some who are nearer by that we might wind up with 15 or 20, and if that happens, we'll have an overflow table.
Hmm.
But I think that'll be really, really fun. And so we make an effort to actually game with you when we can.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking right now, just generically, Michigan to Utica, New York is 9 hours and 22 minutes.
That's not
Uh,
terrible.
yeah, that's not terrible. And then the other one is um, is it Milford, Massachusetts? The other one is
Now in the
holy cow.
comments,
It's 16 hours and 36 minutes for the Milford, Massachusetts one. So that's not. But 9 hours is not terrible.
yeah. The in the chat, I see some comments about online gaming. Now, on Gilded we tend to run Theater of the Mind. Sometimes there's a map or something that I'm also using, but or that, and I'm not the only person running. Customers are running games on there as well.
Right.
But we do have a customer who's been messing around with some Foundry content in the event that you decided to purchase. I'd be happy to put you in contact with him. But we don't generally support online tabletop things, partly because as a game master, I find them incredibly annoying. Other than something like Owlbear, which is pretty simple and stripped down, so it's not hard to manage. I find it much harder to run the game because I'm so busy managing the VTT. And also, of course, we do want to encourage you to play with your friends, to gather people in real life and game together. It's not that I'm opposed to online play in general. We are actively doing that. I run and play in a bunch of sessions over the course of a year, hundreds, I think, certainly over 100, just online. But in general, we want you to play with persons that you can physically meet with. Just because, especially like for the younger generation, I don't know if you've seen this or not. They seem to be lacking in some social skills, and I think it's really good for them in particular to be encouraged to meet together.
So just answering a couple questions there. So that's about 5 hours. Now I generically put Michigan, so I don't know where, I guess central, like right smack dab in the center of Michigan to any of these places. So it might actually vary by a couple of hours difference. But Lake Geneva from Michigan is basically 5 hours and 34 minutes. So if you wanted to go to EGG Con, Ernie Gary Gaga X Con.
I'm interested in Gary Con, but
well, that's not Gary Con though.
No,
it's different, but I think it's in the same place, right?
I think it is the same place.
Yeah, it's the same place, but it's a different time of the year. But yeah, it should be about 5 hours and 34 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, like I said, I just need the information. So if people want to send that.
I mean, the easiest one for you is Kalamazoo, Michigan, right? So that one should be easy.
I mean, unless they've changed. What did I find when I tried looking up Wizard Con? Battle Creek, maybe?
Yes, that's the suburb, I guess, or
they're different. They're different cities. They're not terribly far apart, but they're different cities.
I think you have to. I think Kalamazoo is where you would fly into.
Yeah,
and then you would travel to Battle Creek. If Don is on here at all, he could certainly clarify that. Let me see where exactly it is.
No, that's what I mean. I have a window open where I was looking at it. It looks like it's in Battle Creek.
All right. And so how far is that? So I'll do Wisconsin.
An hour or two, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the most convenient one for you to get to, obviously. It's in your home state.
And then we just need to figure out the timing and so on. And Heidi and Eric. So Death Angels. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, but I'm certainly interested. And
Yeah.
like I said, I just would need the actual information. So
Yeah.
if you want, our email is right on our website.
Mhm.
If there's a convention that you want to invite us to, or go, hey, you guys should check this out. Send it there. Um, it really helps to have where we can sign up or where we can ask questions of the tournament
Yeah.
or convention organizers to be able to go, hey, do you guys have booth space for us? Do you want us to come and run games? How expensive is it?
Yeah.
Like,
You'll be able to do both at Central New York, in Utica. And like I said, that's like 9 hour trip for you. And he and I are going to start, like, he's going to come on the channel, in a couple of weeks and start talking about next year's plans. And
okay,
and his vendors did really well because their tables were on the perimeter of the gaming tables, like the bulk of the gaming tables. So
sure.
anytime the players took a break, they just literally turned around and there was a vendor right behind them, and it was like I had some vendors actually come to me and say, I made more in the 4 hours of that gaming time than I did at conventions 5 times the size. All right. And with a full day's worth of sales. I mean, they just did phenomenally well across the
How big is
board.
this convention typically?
It was its first year and it was 200 people.
Okay,
Which for a brand new convention in its first year, that's a really good number.
sure.
All right, and it had it was wall to wall gaming. I mean,
Good.
there was plenty of different games going on. Everybody's super focused. A great venue. It was in a small, quaint hotel, but good food and great service. I was really impressed by it. And Roger's a great guy, and he had a great team working on. For a first year convention, I was super impressed.
Good.
He did a great job with it, so I would highly recommend.
Now, there was a request for my X information in chat
Yeah.
that I just sent it to you in a private chat. I'm not
Okay.
allowed to post it to YouTube. You, as the channel
Oh, I see.
owner, have to.
All right, so I will put this up here, and let's see. Let's make sure I got the whole thing. There it goes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yep, you can link in there. And while I'm at it, let's put up the store link. So, let me go back here, and then I'm going to do this. And yeah, and I'll do this later on once this thing becomes a video on there. But there's the store link as well.
Perfect.
So you
Thank
can
you.
go directly there for that as well. So, hey, well, let's see, what is he writing here? WizardCon. I'm hearing secondhand that WizardCon, lots of experienced TMs volunteered and heard nothing back. I don't know about that. I'll certainly inquire about it. I'm hearing that secondhand. Yeah, I don't know what the secondhand is. So I'd be
So that'd be
surprised because he had,
presumably people who were there, but he wasn't there, I guess.
yeah, but I'm saying, like, when you hear it secondhand, I don't like secondhand anything. I like to experience it myself.
Yeah, or hear from direct
Yeah,
witnesses.
somebody that I really know, and saying, hey, you know what? But yeah, I'll double check into it. Double-digit attendance. That's
Yeah. Oh wait, if there was a convention like that, I don't know if this is the one, but I actually saw a video of the vendor hall for that one, and it was rough. I just don't know if that's the same one. So,
okay.
but whichever one it was, the one the video was from was the organizers had like gone out of their way to offend the likely customers.
Really?
So I don't know if it was this one or not, but it was
Yeah.
like a vendor hall. The video I watched was a vendor hall with like 20 different vendors, and there was like one dude wandering the hall, and that was it.
Really?
It was, yeah.
Share that with me on in the private if you have it available.
I can probably find it again. I was watching the video on X. This was one that happened in the last month. So, anyway,
I can
I was just like, oh, that'd be rough.
I'd be curious too.
Yeah, but even small conventions can be actually, I would say small conventions in particular can be good for sales if you are running games and if you are, what's the word? If you are the right genre for the convention.
Yeah.
We've certainly sold more at a 500 person convention than at a 5,000 person convention.
Yes. And that's the experience that I was relaying, like the vendors had told me, with that smaller convention, a 200 person convention, and they were part of the 200. What I'm saying? The vendors themselves were part of that 200 count, and they said they did really well. So, I think you would do really well there if you brought, a table and everything, and you had your stuff set up there, and you'd be able to game at a table right next to your table, if that's what you were looking to do. And that way you can kind of, if you have one person along with you kind of manning the table, you could run the game system right back.
We try to stagger it with a 3-man team. We try to make it me, Nate, and one of our friends or a local volunteer, because that way one person's watching the booth, one person's running games, and one person's on break or going to do something for fun.
Right. Yeah. Playing a different game. Yeah.
Playing a different game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I got the chance to play Nuclear War with Chubby Funster and a bunch of other guys when we were at North Texas, and that is a card game from like the 1980s. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had the chance to do that if we hadn't had Steve come along with us and be the third guy manning the booth.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great convention for you to do. I'll send you all the details and everything. Roger even has his dates up. So he's already scheduled for that next year, and so and that's in June. So it's a good time of the year. Weather-wise, it's it's a pretty darn safe month. Weather-wise, so that would be really good. All right. So,
do you have any other questions for me about the game? Like you hadn't looked at the book previously.
No.
You just kind of heard some.
So, after I get back from vacation, I am going to pick up I'll probably get the hardcover because you sold me on that. So I'll get the hardcover, and as soon as I have it, I will bring you back on. As I start doing my, my coverage of it, and I will start, going through it. And I do like a page through first, and then I'll start going through section by section and talking about, hey, this is how I'm reading it for the first time and seeing and getting a sense of the game system itself. And at any time, if you wanted to come on, I tend to do these Sunday night live streams. And if at any time, once I get the book in hand, you want to say, hey, I'd like to come on and we could talk about it and whatnot, I'll certainly bring you on to do it.
That'd be great.
That way I'm a little bit more experienced with the game system by that point, and then we can go into a lot more detail with it, and then I'll be looking for dropship, and checking that out as well. And I mean, it's it's great to have you on. I really enjoyed it. I hope everybody enjoyed it as well. Let's see, I might hit up LugeCon near Atlanta. The guys working for CNC Summer Siege are there. I'm going there. Yeah. So they're spreading around quite a lot too. I'm a big Troll Lord Games fan as well, and trying to do some stuff with running games. Oh, that's fireworks. I thought something tapping on my window. I thought a bird was tapping on my window. It's like, it's
No.
not banging on the thing, but it's fireworks going on.
No, happy belated Independence Day.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, no, they'll shoot fireworks for the next 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, so Todd, DM Blackwall, it was great to have you on. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to, like I said, checking out the game system in my hands. So roughly, and you're saying that's shipping from Michigan, right? So that would be fairly quick and everything. I'll put my order in as soon as I get back from vacation.
Yeah, we have a pretty good turnaround time. We mostly use the U.S. postal system, but we're paying for what's the word I'm looking for here? Tracked insured packages.
Okay.
And that seems to work pretty well. Our failure rate isn't very high, and most of the time when there's a failed delivery, it has been that the customer gave us the wrong address.
Yeah.
That they put their old address in, or whatever. Or like missed that there was an apartment that they should have had on there, or
I think. Yeah. I've seen one time like the post office said undeliverable, like the address was unreadable. And then finally it showed up, and I was like, there was nothing unreadable about this address. It was like, no, you lost it, for God knows how long, because it came in and looked like it got kicked down the stairs a couple times, before. And I was like, no, it got stuck in the tracks on the big truck at some point, and that's usually what happens with things like that. I used to.
Yeah, we had that.
So I know that's what probably happened.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention, if you are an international customer and you'd like to order, the hardcovers are the only ones. I mean, PDFs available wherever.
Yeah.
But the hardcovers are the only ones available internationally, and that's basically because we are paying a company to produce the international orders individually, print on demand, and ship it to you.
Right.
Rather than a larger print run. We did do a print run of hardcovers through the same companies, so we are distributing those ourselves. But for out of the country, it was cheaper actually just to pay them to do it. And then if you're in a country we don't currently ship to, reach out. Let us know if you are willing to be the guinea pig. We will absolutely help authorize and help test it. But we try to make sure the first time that we're shipping to a country that we are interacting with the customer, because there's some weird stuff, like shipping to Australia. Package basically sat in a warehouse for like a week for no reason.
Yeah.
And now we know that that's normal, apparently. Same deal shipping to Ireland. If you order from Ireland, we actually have it as a separate tag behind the scenes on our website. There should be a little pop-up warning you that you may have to pay at your local post office, because when the first time we shipped to Ireland, the dude had to pay like an €11, I think, tax.
Yeah.
But he had to physically go to his post office to pay the tax.
Wow, that's weird.
We couldn't pay it for him, and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
And so that's why we want to find out, hey, is there some weird local law that we just don't know about? Because if you're the first customer, we want you to tell us.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I already see some people are saying that it's definitely on their list of checking it out. So yeah,
good.
Be on the lookout. I will, I should have it in my hands by August, and so, it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks for it to get in my hands, I'm guessing.
Unless you order right around a holiday, you probably will have it in hand in a matter of days. From when you place the order.
All right. So, I'm home on the 14th, so I'll probably be looking around the 15th or so, and take care of it then.
Sounds great.
So, all right. Again, thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for coming on in and chatting with us and asking your questions and everything. And I will definitely have DM Blackwell on Blackwall back on here. I apologize, but it's been a long day actually. I had family over. We're getting ready to leave tomorrow, so it's been a very long day. But thanks everyone, and thank you. And let's see,
Yeah,
it's
thanks for having
totally
me.
fun. If you are on the fence, pick up Horde Wars Basic, the PDF. Yeah, yeah, the PDF is super cheap. It's like $7 on drive-through. Although let's see, I lost the how much
Same
is it
same
on
for our
it?
website.
It's the same price on the website. Get it from the website. Go directly to them because then $7 is his $7. And then not it's not going to get $5.25 instead. You know, unless you're going to use my affiliate thing, then do it that way. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
That way, I'll buy his on the I'll buy it on both. I'll get it both ways. But
And
anyway,
I will note that there were a couple terminology updates and from basic to advanced. It's not much. We summarize it in a short paragraph, but basically we realized that there were a couple of spell names that were too close to one another, like
oh, all
where
right.
people might get confused,
Mhm.
and so we renamed a couple things. And I think the Zweihander now deals a D12 instead of a D10. Like, really, it's pretty minor. Uh, we had a guy who had made 50 characters. I think he had to update like three
Oh, cool.
when
Yeah.
moving from basic to advanced. It's a pretty seamless transition. Um,
Yeah. Well, thank you too, and yeah, it's great to see that you're going to be checking it out. And like I said, I first heard of Horde Wars just from positive output. People saying, "Hey, this is a really cool system. You want
Good.
to take a look at it." And like I said, that's been going on for you know several weeks. So not just this last week or so, but certainly for quite some time, almost 2 months. I've been hearing about it. So definitely
I'm,
check it out.
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, our advertising budget is exactly $0.
Yeah,
So that is entirely uh,
yeah.
us interacting with
Well,
customers.
yeah, that's
And
word of mouth, and,
yeah,
the thing is that you know in this in this industry and in this circle of OSR independent spokespeople for that portion of the hobby, we all talk to each other, and we spread out. A lot of times we cover the same track in some ways, but we all have our different take on it, and yeah, I mean we push it. You're not going to get more than 4,000 people watching my channel. You know what I'm saying, at any given time. um, but there's like 20 of us out there doing the same thing, right? So you're really getting close to maybe 50,000 views on your stuff, over the same week or so, and that's going to generate it, So yeah, we're not the Ginny D's with 600,000 subscribers or anything like that,
right.
and we're not play testing it or doing live action or live plays on Critical Role levels, but we're certainly working to get as many eyes, on great products out there. So I hope that everyone bears that in mind and checks out some of the links. So as soon as this thing goes into a video mode on my channel, I'll start putting some of the links up for those things. And Todd, I will share out those links to you for those particular conventions. Certainly, the one in
Great.
Utica, I think, is probably the easiest one for you to get to.
Hmm.
And I'll also send you the WizardCon one that
Yeah.
that is in Michigan, so you can check that out too. All right, so we'll have a good night.
Thanks again. Nope. Think I might have lost you there. Well, unless we double check here. Yeah, I hope you check out the independent the magic system. Unless I see DM Bloodworth back in the next few minutes, I will plan to close down the stream. But thank you everyone again. And yeah, it was really great talking with Richard. Yeah, I hope you all have a good night. And let me see here. I'll try and make sure he gets his video saved. Yep, I can't control the stream directly. So, hope you all have a good night, and I will get this shut down, and hopefully he's able to get all of the footage. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened. It all of a sudden just cut off. My whole computer froze.
Yeah.
So very, very weird.
I was just about to close things down. I was thanking everyone. And...
Yeah, all of a sudden it just stopped streaming, and my computer froze. So very weird. Luckily, I had the iPad backup here. But hey, everyone that's still on, sorry about that. That's a very weird glitch. I've never had that happen before. Won't even let me control Alt and delete from my from the thing on here. I probably, like I said, I for over 2 days I had no internet connection, and that's probably what happened. Is that but it's weird that the computer locked up as well, and it's not letting me control Alt and delete. I'm gonna have to hard boot it off. But anyway, everyone, thanks a lot. Sorry about the technical issue, and I am going to end this.